Welcome to True Secrets of Life show. I am your host, Lennyr, and I am a family relationship and antidepressant expert. And I know that nobody knows what an antidepressant expert is. What I do is that I guide teenagers and adults how to prevent and overcome heartbreak, anxiety, and depression. In today's show, we are going to debate a very, very important position. Is depression a mental illness? Is depression a chemical imbalance? So, in the first part of the show, we are going to elaborate on the chemistry of depression. And in the second part of the show, I am going to show you how we can reverse the chemistry of depression. Yes, how it is possible to reverse it. It is quite amazing that most of our planet is water, either salt water or sweet water, whichever one you want to consider it. But our planet is mostly water. This is quite amazing because our bodies are also made of water, a lot of water, over 60% more precisely. And that varies from our teeth, 8% water, to our brain, 85% water. So is this really a coincidence that we live on a planet where the planet kind of sort of mirrors us as people? And as our planet has issues, so do we, humans. But who is actually in charge of these issues? It's a bigger question. In 1999, Dr. Masaru Emoto has disclosed some of his experiments with water. And even if he is considered today a pseudoscientist and not a regular scientist, his experiments are very, very interesting because he discovered things about water that maybe we always knew and we wanted to ignore. Water has consciousness. In the various books that you can find online, written by Masaru Emoto, practically what he does is he exposes glasses of water to various words, pictures, or music. Then he's freezing the water and examine the frozen crystals under a microscope. Let's take a look at some of his findings. On the left side, you have a water crystal exposed to Washington, D.C. and New York. And on the right side, to Vancouver and Sydney. Clearly, very different. On the left, there is a water particle from Lake Tenderfoot, Wisconsin, and a lake from North Korea. And on the right side, we have water particles exposed to Polka. On the left, this water particle has been exposed to a picture of African savanna. And on the right side, exposed to a picture of Stonehenge. Clearly, very different locations and very different forms. On the left side, the water particle has been exposed to the word sun. And on the right side has been exposed to a waterfall from the Lake Victoria. On the left, the water particle has been exposed to heavy metal music. And on the right side, to Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley. Please notice how interesting the shapes are. This water particle on the left has been exposed to Cleopatra's Dream by Bud Powell. And on the right side, we have the Symphony Number 40 in G minor of Mozart. On the left side, this water particle has been exposed to the photograph of a dolphin. And on the right side, it has been exposed to a photograph of Earth. We can see on the left water particles for the word cosmos in different languages. And on the right side, the word "you are beautiful" chanted by children on the top right and repeated by children on the bottom right. On the left side, top left, the water particle has been exposed to the word angel, and on the bottom left to the word Satan. On the right side, the water particle has been exposed to the word I am sorry in Japanese. On the left side, you can see various photographs of the water particles who have been exposed to the word thank you in different languages. And on the right side, to the word you are an idiot. And on the bottom right, you disgust me, I will kill you. Please notice the shapes, specifically the hexagonic shapes on the left. What if they are beautiful pictures compared to horrible pictures? What does it all mean? That there is a hexagonal form in those beautiful pictures and it's missing in the other ones. What it clearly means that water reacts. Exposed for a short period of time to just images, pictures, music, intentions, it can react. But let's see what Dr. Emoto says about this in an old documentary. Everything in existence vibrates. Physics cannot deny this. Vibration is just another word for energy. Therefore, the absence of hexagonal crystals can be seen as a sign that the life forces in that area have been compromised energetically. Clearly, there is an energetic disturbance in water when it's exposed to anything negative. practically to negative energy. What does that all mean for us people who have suffered for decades and even millennia from famine, wars, survival issues, anger, shame, injustice? Clearly, at the deepest water level of our body have been chemistry changes. And those we can go as far as find it in our genes. As we all know by now, we all have genes that can trigger cancer, depression, all kind of illnesses. Nevertheless, some people are not exposed to these conditions, and others are. So, what is the difference? And how can we reverse the bad chemistry of water? Let's see in the second part of our show. Stay with us.
Today, many young adults struggle with anger, anxiety, and signs of depression, and they are confused about what's happening to them. On the other side, parents are desperate, realizing that meds and therapy are not going to help their child achieve success in life. Visit TrueParentingSecrets.com to discover accelerated strategies to help your young adult overcome anger, anxiety, and depression. Regain your child's trust and help them unleash their true potential. Visit TrueParentingSecrets.com. Set your child up for success in life.
It was the best decision I ever made for me and for my child.
Visit TrueParentingSecrets.com.
What's wrong with me? I can't even smile anymore.
This depression takes over my entire life. My child also shows signs of depression.
Anxiety is so debilitating.
I'm separated for over a year. Why do I still feel heartbroken?
I'm stuck in a rut, and I don't know how to get out.
What should I do? How can I escape this anxiety?
I want love in my life, but I'm so afraid of another betrayal.
Visit TrueSecretsOfLife.com to overcome anxiety and depression.
Visit TrueSecretsOfLife.com to overcome heartbreak.
Visit TrueSecretsOfLife.com to never be hurt again.
Visit TrueSecretsOfLife.com to build amazing family relationships.
Visit TrueSecretsOfLife.com to live the life you deserve and desire.
Visit TrueSecretsOfLife.com to change your life.
Even if today Dr. Emoto experiments are not recognized by the scientific society, the evidence is quite amazing, because how is it possible that words of positivity or prayers, for that matter, or good intentions turn the water into hexagonic crystals? And why a hexagon out of all the shapes out there? Well, it turns out that hexagons can also be found in nature, and it actually is the strongest shape out there linked to longevity. When we are thinking about hexagons in nature, we are thinking probably of honeybees and how they fill up in their home these hexagonic shapes with honey. Yes, with honey. And how interestingly they do that. Nevertheless, certain dragonflies have their eyes made of 30,000 hexagonic shapes. And some insects in nature are also made up of hexagonic shapes. But the most astonishing thing is when you see a hexagonic shape on a turtle And remember, the hexagon in most religions represents strength and longevity, and how interesting that a turtle represents the same. Nevertheless, there is one more astonishing occurrence of hexagons in nature, and that is after a volcano explodes and the lava solidifies itself in hexagonic shapes with no help from humans. So I want you to think about how these little words and intention and places, if you will, and music, if you will, can impact a brain, because the brain has 85% water, the heart the same. During years and years of either happiness or suffering. And now it clearly explains a lot of what happens to the people in depression. As I promised you, this is not all of it. When my son was 11 years old, we went through a medical difficulty, if you will. He ended up sleeping approximately 20 to 22 hours a day for 3 weeks straight. And he was not functional. Like, he couldn't read, he couldn't write. He was like a zombie when he was awake. As all doctors did not know what was wrong with him, one of the doctors mentioned he might be depressed. And I actually have agreed with that particular doctor, considering that I just overcame depression and I did not know how to help my son at that time. We found out that his condition was impacted by one gene, one specific gene, connected to a blood disease, very rare one considered, called hemochromatosis. And that one gene, just one gene, gives people 33 diseases and cancers, including depression. I really want you to think of a timeline here. So my mom had the same gene. Actually, she had two of those. And she died overnight at the age of 55 because of this gene and other complications linked to depression. I had this gene activated in my body while I had S-shaped scoliosis, 2 hernias of disc, fibromyalgia, pre-NASH, non-alcoholic liver hepatitis, pre-diabetes, headaches, insomnias, but for some reason, the gene was deactivated after I overcame depression. Nevertheless, it showed up in my son. So clearly, it was not deactivated there. So, as you know me, digging up everything and trying to find out how can I deactivate or put to sleep the gene for my son, I have found out a couple of astonishing things. This particular gene has mutated over 2,000 years ago, maybe even 5,000 years ago, at the times of the Vikings. The gene has mutated to make the species survive as the Vikings were dying in battle and they were bleeding to death. So the gene figured out if it mutates, it can actually longer up the time when people are alive. You have to remember that the Vikings never lived over the age of 55. By the way, the same age my mom died. What a coincidence. So the gene practically mutated for one simple reason. When the people eat meat, then the iron holds on to the body, never gets out, and the body regenerates faster. Today, the same gene kills us. Practically, it rusts us from the inside. And it hits the weakest organ. Can be anything. Out of the 33 diseases and cancers, the gene can easily activate. So, now I found out what was the history of a gene and why it has mutated, linked to one of the main emotional wounds of depression, survival. Everything in nature, absolutely everything in nature mutates out of survival. Now, all I had to find out is how to make this gene dormant for my son, exactly how I made it for me. Every single disease in the body, even if you consider depression as one of them, even if you consider any other disease as one of them, it's actually the absence of ease. That's what the word disease means. The absence of ease. So what kind of ease we are talking about? We are talking about only 5 emotional wounds or traumas that can activate depression. There are only 5. That cannot be more than 5. So you see, when people come to me and they say, oh, my depression is different, I'm like, no, it cannot be different. You can only have 5 emotional wounds or traumas. How deep these are, that is a different story. So what depression really means? Depression is only deep pressure, deep emotional and mental pressure on your body, on your mind, on your heart. And actually the word depression tells us exactly how to fix it. All we have to do is depressurize this pressure. As you have noticed from Dr. Emoto's experiments, positivity words, positive intentions, prayer, it matters. It matters. But can this be permanent for somebody who has been suffering from deep emotional wounds for decades, like I did? Let's find out. We clearly have these particular genes. We all have them, right? Then can activate any kind of disease, every kind of illness, right? Especially when there is pain involved, where is negative energy involved, where is negative words involved, and especially when there are decades of suffering involved. So practically, they are there just waiting to go active at some point. So how can we just put them to sleep? How can we just deactivate them? With no meds, with no medical intervention, with nothing invasive, because we don't know if something invasive like a medicine might activate another one. We have plenty of genes. We have no clue how they work and what they do. So, unfortunately, only positivity and only prayer and only nice words don't help when there is a lot of emotional wounding involved. When it's just a little bit, it helps a lot. A lot. Specifically, meditation, Eckhart Tolle techniques, any kind of prayer, any kind of positivity. But for people who suffer from depression for generations like I did, where these emotional wounds are way, way deeper, you actually can put clean water on top of poison and call it not poisonous. It's very simple. So, I'm going to tell you right now the actual formula to deactivate depression and turn it into a chemical balance, if you will. Reverse the chemical imbalance of depression. So the first thing, number one thing that each child and adult needs not to ever have this kind of condition is to stop being hurt. Okay? You can't really try to fix something where you're getting more and more wounded every day. It is not possible. It's not possible. Imagine that you have a wound out there on your skin, and every day you scratch it more, you hurt it more. It will never heal. So this is what we call skills to insulate people from depression. Yes, there are skills to be learned. There are skills that some people have naturally. They're born with it. And other ones, they learn it from their families. But there is also a huge majority of us, like me, that I had to learn it. I had to learn it from zero, exactly like learning math, from zero. What are these skills? These are relationship skills, emotional skills, and mindset trap skills, so you will not fall into the traps that the mind constructs out of survival. That's all this chemical imbalance is. The need for survival, which the mind doesn't know how to fix, and it turns and it changes trying to survive, not realizing that it's killing us from the inside, bit by bit. The second part of a formula to put any kind of gene to sleep that gives you this kind of condition is to remove the emotional pain already there. And yes, there are strategies and techniques that Shaolin monks, Himalayan yogi master, even Christian people knew about for a very, very long time, that were hidden from us or lost during our evolution, because we had a lot of wars and we had a lot of fires and we had a lot of survival needs, not educational needs, from generations to generations. And the third part of a formula is exactly what Dr. Emoto was mentioning. Positivity, love, prayer, meditation, fill up everything with light. But unfortunately, you cannot go straight to number 3, because sooner or later, the pain that you feel inside and the skills that you don't have to insulate from pain will show up. So this is how You can reverse this chemical imbalance of a brain, of a heart, of depression. And this is how anybody, teenager or adult, can do it.